Welcome back to Frank's Model Aviation Workshop. This is episode 12 in the Carl Goldberg Ultimate 10-300 Biplane Build Series. Part 4 in the Lost Foam Wing Experiment. I've got all my ribs generated. We still have to put the lightning holes in them. We got our slots in the foam cradle for flipping the wings so the interplane strut ribs will set in there nice. Got all of our plywood center pieces generated for both the top and the bottom wing. We have our molded leading edge for the bottom wing. Still got to do the top wing. Can't do 4 at a time. I wish I could. But slowly but surely I'm getting my parts to complete the Lost Foam wing. So, I got the clear tube with the eyelets. The eyelets are on their way. I need 5.5 inches of clear tube, so I order 50 feet. And I got a 1/16 inch stainless steel push rod material to make the hook. I could probably reuse the one from the kit, but I thought I'd make a different one. And we got most of our trailing edge pieces. The spars are already done. We've got our shims made. So we're going to get set up and do all the lightning holes in all the ribs. Put the little stiffener pieces that go in between the spar notches. We'll have to use the strip tool, or, the balsa stripper for that. And we'll get these lightning holes cut, get the stiffeners put on, and I think this video will start the assembly of the bottom wing. Lord willing and the creek don't rise. So anyway, we'll get set up and get these lightning holes made. So if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. Hit that notification bell so that you can be notified of future episodes of this build series. And be sure and like and share my videos. I really appreciate that. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, we're going to get set up to do these lightning holes. I'm going to bring you in close to do a couple in real time, and then I will do the rest of them in fast speed so we can get on to the assembly of the wing. So we'll get set up and get these lightning holes done. Okay, first off, I'm going to put a new blade in this X-Acto. Okay, I already have the R1 and R2 completed, so I'm going to set them in the cradle where they go. As I do them, I will set each rib in the cradle where they go. The R11 rib, which is the tip ribs, they don't get anything but notches and a stiffener. So I'm going to do the stiffener after we get all the lightning holes made, so I'll explain that when we get to that point. So I'm going to set these aside, and we'll do R2. So basically what we're going to do, I'm going to take the clear ruler, and I want a 1/4 inch fore and after the spar. That's where my lightning holes are going to start. I think I made the fronts 1 inch and 1/8. And the rears, I believe, are 1 inch and 5/8. That's how long they are. And so I remember, I wrote down my dimensions, what circle I used on the pattern. So I'm going to put a dot next to the circle so it's easier to find on my template. But I'll explain that as I do it. So I need 15/32. 9/16, (17 32), and 7/16. That way I know which circle to use. So on the fronts, near the spar, is 9/32, or 9/16, sorry. So get my 9/16, line up my lines on the template. And I'll use a ballpoint pen. I only make a half circle. Like that. Front is going to be 15 32, so that'll be this one here. Okay, the rear is going to be 17 32. And 7/16. So first I'm going to take and make my spar notch. They're 1/8 inch deep. All of these ribs are going to be the same, except for the very tip rib. And you got to kind of mimic the spar angle. That'll be good. Alright, so that's good. Now I'm going to, by hand, go around these circles. I think I'm going to do that first. Been a couple days since I've done this, I forgot how to do it. And there's one complete R2, except we forgot something. I have to place a 1/8 inch notch in the very center of the front. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to make it a little bit big so that I can have adjustment. That's good enough. R2. So now I will do L2, and I'm not gonna talk. I'm just gonna go through it, and then after I'm done with this one, I'm going to go into fast speed for the rest of them. If anybody has any questions though about the lost phone wing or whatever, or why I'm doing the lost phone wing, just leave it down in the comments. I read my comments all the time, so I'll get back with you as soon as I see them. L2. Okay, I'll get set up and put you in fast speed. I'll finish all these lightning holes, and then I'll come back into regular mode when we go to put these stiffeners in between the spars. Okay, there is the completed lightning holes made in the wing, bottom wing. And you may have noticed, why didn't he put lightning holes in R7 on either side? That's because in between here in this bay, I'm going to have an aileron servo, and I kind of want a whole piece of balsa to glue something to in order to figure out how to mount that servo. Figure that out when I get them. I should get them by tomorrow, and that'll give me a better idea. But I think I could start. Oh, I need to do the stiffeners. I'm only doing the stiffeners on the ones with the lightning holes. This one doesn't need a stiffener because, you know, it's solid. I could put one in just to match up everything, but I don't really need it. So I will get to making the 1/4 inch stiffeners. I'll set up and do that. So I'm going to set my balsa stripper up to a 1/4 inch without trying not to slice my hand open while I do it. I might do them slightly under a 1/4 inch because of the way the angle is of that spar. That way I don't have to worry about sanding the stiffener. That should be good right there. So I'm going to make a few strips, and I'll make more if I need them. And these are going to go in between the spar locations. So that should be enough for that side. So I'll make 3 more to start off with. Alright, we'll start off with that. So I'll bring you in closer and I'll show you what we're going to be doing here. This will be the first time we actually get to add glue. Okay, I've determined that on the L1s, I'm not going to put a stiffener to the inside because that's where the plywood, all that plywood reinforcement goes. So I'll start with L1 on this side. So basically all you do is you put a little bit of glue on your rib. Just like that. And then you go to the other side and you slice it off. So basically just like that. And I think I'm going to retest fit my, yeah, that's good. Well, maybe not. So I'll have to trim that too. I want to make sure you line them up. I have a feeling I'm going to be using a lot a lot of blades because I'm going to get glue all over it. So what these stiffeners are for is when you have these placed in the cradle, you're going to put that after the molded leading edges on there. You have to put the top of the mold buck on there, or well, I'll explain it later, but the top part of where the mold buck was made on top of it and weigh it down. That's just to keep these from crushing. So that's all these stiffeners are for. So I'll continue doing the rest of them in fast speed, and then I'll bring you back when I'm done. Okay, there's all the ribs with their stiffeners on. And we are ready, I believe, to start pinning and gluing. As you can see how those ribs set in that cradle, they set just in there without even having to be pinned. Okay, that'll do it for this episode. We've done quite a bit. Got all the lightning holes done and the stiffeners put in. And I'm just kidding. We're going to keep going. So I'll get set up. I got to review the video tutorial on this thing to see what's next. I believe it's pinning the trailing edges, putting all the shims in, pin those in, then start gluing in the ribs. So I'll get back to you as soon as I review the video, and we will continue building this wing. Okay, so the first thing we start with is the trailing edges. So I'll take my first one, line it up with this angle, and get the correct angle. I'm using wax paper on my mold buck or on my cradle so that I can get an accurate, or not an accurate, so I can keep from destroying my plan. Now, on the actual lost foam video, it doesn't glue the center. They build two wing halves and glue them together later. But the way this is designed, I have to glue the two halves together. So that's the way I'm going to have to build it. I'm going to trim this end off. Because I'm not going to be messing around. So I'll get my next one. Match it up. And these two, this seam here will be glued. I'm using thin CA. You'll notice I'm not using my steel blocks because this thing is perfectly straight, so I don't have to worry about the steel block deal. And I'll trim this too. Next is to lay these 1/4 inch leading edge shims in place, about 3/8 inch back from the leading edge, and pin them in place. Okay, the next step is to prepare the spars. And like I said, I'll be using the kit style 1/4 by 1/8. So I'll have to scissor pin them. Okay. So now it says to place the shims under each rib location. And I'm going to have to place a shim right here because I'm going to be gluing that spar together. And because of that, I had to have a tiny piece of wax paper. And I know what you're thinking. You're making it too thick. It's not gonna be lined up, but it'll be good enough for what I'm doing. So I don't think I'm gonna be able to drive a pin through that. I'm not even gonna try. I'll be scissor pinning it. Making sure that spar is on the center joint. That's one. Once I get this pinned, I'm going to run thin CA into that joint. I tell you, this foam's really easy to stick pins into. Too bad we can't use foam as a regular building board. We're actually getting some building done. Now this is where this RC lost foam is going to be different than the actual lost foam, because I have to incorporate these plywood pieces into the bottom of the wing. So I'm going to pin this first rib down, or get it ready. And then these plywood pieces, front, bottom, they will need shimmed, of course. So I'm going to have to get a couple more shims. So I have to place these plywood shims or plywood pieces in there and get the other R1 ready to glue. This is going to be a trick. So now what I'm going to do is glue these plywood pieces in. once they're glued in, I'm going to take those shims away. This type of building is all new to me, so what you're seeing is brand new. I think I might have got that one in backwards. But it'll build. It'll be fine. Okay. First two ribs and joiners are put in. Next we just keep going with the ribs, and then we put the top spar in. Then we'll put these ply joiners and that web in after the rest of the ribs are done. Well, all the ribs are glued in place to the spar and the trailing edge. Got all my plywood forward and aft braces glued in. And things were going really well until I thoroughly glued one of my shims to one of the plywood ribs. And by thoroughly, I mean thoroughly. And so I'm going to have to sand those off whenever I flip this thing over. Anyway, all the ribs are in. They're lined up perfectly, and I test fit my carbon fiber rod that I'm going to use on the ribs, you know, on the leading edge, just to strengthen, because there's nothing in between these ribs but a 1/16 balsa. So that carbon fiber rod will give me some kind of a leeway. Just don't want to run into anything. And usually when I crash stuff, I totally obliterate it. So that it's not for, that kind of thing. It's just for bumps. So anyway, gonna let this cure a little bit, and then I think the next step is to put the top spar in, and we will move on from there. How's it looking so far? I'll bring you around closer so you can look at it. I think it looks pretty decent, except for my screw up. So I'll bring you in closer so you can see what it looks like. But it looks pretty decent, I think. So we'll see how it goes after this dries a little bit. And here it is so far. Are there things that I would change next time on the top wing? Yeah, probably. Not sure what yet, but I would definitely change something. It's going together really good though. I mean, the ribs fit in there perfectly. It's just you gotta keep from gluing your damn plywood or your shims to your wing. Anyway, I'll let this glue up a little bit, and then we'll come back and move on. Okay, as you can see here, I got my aileron servos in the mail. This is how I plan on mounting them in the wing. I'm going to mount these rails below the center line, and I'm going to try to keep that servo horn below the wing surface and just have the push rod come out to the aileron, kind of like on the kit, you know, with the bell crank. Only the servo horn will be up, you know, instead of sideways. If I can't, then I'll have to figure out, I'll have to make a bigger plate, because I was going to use the kit style, you know, plate to put in there. Yeah, it goes like that. So I was going to try to have the push rod come out there. Might not be able to do that now. I don't know. We'll see. I'll figure something out. But in the meantime, I'm going to somehow slot for these rails while the ribs are glued in. It's making me want to make this the top wing, but then I'd have to drill those holes, and yeah, so I don't know. I'll work on this a little bit, see what I can come up with, and who knows, maybe I'll get it, maybe I'll fix it just right. So I'm wondering if I should put that top spar in first and get my center braces in and then work on this, or work on this while the top spar is out of my way. I've got a lot of options here, is what I'm trying to say. But I'm just trying to figure out what the best way to go about this is. Because I know I want this rail to be right behind the spar. That's where I want that rail to be. And I want it mounted below the center line. So what I'm going to do, what I'm going to try to do is, what might be easier is to run these rails through the balsa rib, butt them up to the plywood rib, and put like a, you know, another one of these 1/8 by 1/4 inch rails underneath these two rails. That way I don't have to try to cut a hole in a plywood rib that's glued in. So let's try that. I'm going to go ahead and take this out of the way. I marked where the servos are, or where the rails are going to be. So I'm going to get a 90 somewhere. I think I got one somewhere. I got one, but I think it's too big. Well, maybe not. Let's see. I'm going to try not to break these ribs as I'm doing this. Okay. This is actually the first time I've ever put servos out in the wing. Problem is, this pen's not going to be right. Maybe it's close enough. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll leave it like that. Alright, so Technically this one doesn't need to be marked. I just need that line. Okay, so let me get just an X-Acto blade. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to cut an 1/8 slot. Wow, this is going to be tricky. I'm going to end up destroying this rib. I don't know if that's wide. I need a smaller piece. I can't keep those dang things straight. So it needs to go down. Oh, it needs to be wider. That's better. There. That's basically how I want it. Now I need to do one more. Whew, man, this is a pain in my butt. If I can get these two rails, oh yes, look at that, perfect. Okay, so now I need to make a piece that goes like that. And glue it on. And these will go through and just set. Let's see. How wide does it need to be? And the thing is, I got to reproduce this for the other side. Okay, so this piece will be my rail to go on, to be glued onto the plywood. I'll have to cut that to see if I got enough room. And I'm running over an hour right now on this video, so as soon as I get to a stopping point, which will probably be after I get these servos mounted, we'll continue with it next video. Okay, so my idea, let's see how long I need to make these. I hate working in a trashy environment. Clutters my brain. Let's put that there. I don't know, what do you guys think of what it's looking like so far? I'm just going to have it extend past that rib for a little bit. The servo stuck to it. So that is going to go in. Hopefully I can get it in there. Like this. To there. Roughly. Okay, that's level. I think I might hit that with just a dot of thin CA, if I can get a dot on it. Let's make another one. Only this rail has got to be put in with the servo in. Oops, dang it, it moved. Crap. Yeah. You guys probably ain't seeing a dang thing I'm doing. This is all new to me. So what you're seeing is trial by fire. Okay, so this rail is parallel to the rib just like I wanted it. So let me make another one for here. Only this one can't be put in until the servo is put in between it. If anybody's wondering, these are MKS servos, HV6160s. Really, it's a nice looking servo. A little spendy. I think they were like 69 bucks a piece. So, but you know, it's worth it as long as they do their job. And they're very slim. So that should rest right down between there. All right. That's the rails. Okay, so those rails are in. Now I'll make two more rails on the other side. I'll reinforce all this. That won't look too bad. That'll be strong enough for that. Now my next question is, where, oh, I need to make an exit hole for this to go out there. And I'll do that with the Dremel, because it's going to go out. Or maybe I can, let's see, run it under maybe. And just out a lightning hole. Got to figure out where I want that horn to be. So it needs to be about right there. And I'm not going to be able to use that. So this slot, I'm going to have to make this bigger. Probably the whole, might as well just make it the whole size of that. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do. And I think what I'm going to do is I'll just make a lightning hole right here. That way when I put that, I can just put that through there. Just put it on top here. Still going to be below the covering. And I can just run my extension to the center. So that's the way I'm going to do that. So I'm going to stop the camera now. I'm going to go ahead and do that other side. No sense wasting time. And then I'll come back with the servos where they're supposed to be. And we'll see what we're going to do from there. Okay, there's my setup. It's going to go into a Y right there. I'm going to make my own Y harness because those ones you buy are crap. So anyway, it took me a little bit to figure it out, but I got her. Pretty sweet. I'm gonna have to revamp the way the hole is, and that, you know, that balsa plate they put here. Gonna have to redo something for that. We'll figure that out when I go to put it on. But anyway, we are getting closer to getting this thing done. I wanted to get those ailerons in, mounted, and get them ready to you know, be functional. So they're functional, they're moving in the right direction. Now all I gotta do is put the horns on, figure out the push rod. Probably gonna I have some push rod, threaded push rod, so I'll probably do a Z bend on the horn and use the snap link. You know, gonna have to do that anyway. So that's the way I'll set that up. But I think I'm gonna call this a video. I'm well over an hour, and I'm almost 2 hours in probably on this, because I wanted to show how my thought process, I guess, on how I wanted to set these up. I got them set up on 2 separate channels, channel 1 and channel 5, in this remote, so, or receiver remote, geez. But I got that set up. It's functional. That way I can adjust, you know, the amount of throw on each channel. So anyway, we'll put a close to this one, and then we'll pick it up where we left off on the next one. One last thing before I end the video. I wanted to mock up my plate that I'm going to put in there. So I got her in there, and I got enough room to where I think I can put a push rod right on the end of that with a Z bend, and it won't interfere here. That's what I was worried about. I think it'll be all right. So anyway, that's it for that. Might have to tweak it a little bit, because I want the push rod to come out centered, and I won't be able to, because if I put a Z bend in, it's going to be on this side here. So I'm going to either have to widen that a little bit, or just say the heck with it and just leave it like that. I don't think it'll make it, I don't think it'll hurt it none. So I think I'll just leave it like that, because it's already diagrammatically engineered perfectly for the throw, and I don't think I'm going to actually need that much throw in the aileron, if I'm being honest. And you can see it's hitting that wire. I'm going to glue that wire to the top of that servo so it won't do that. Anyway, that's it for this video. Well, that'll do it for this episode. We got our aileron servos mocked up. They're installed, and I'm gonna have to do a, I don't need to do a Y harness, because I got the ailerons programmed on channel 1 and channel 5, so I can do away with the Y harness ordeal. I mocked up the horn plate, the exit hole, the push rod exit hole. You can't use the same one as the kit, so I made this one. It fits perfectly. Hopefully it'll work good enough to where I don't have any binding in the horn as it is going through its travel. I don't think I will, but we'll address that when we get to it. But next episode, we'll finish up the center section. The spar will be on. We might even get to doing the sheeting on the front and the cap strips and the trailing edge. We'll get the wing almost all done. So that's what I'm going to shoot for. So we'll do that in the next one. So if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. Hit that notification bell so that you can be notified of future episodes of this build series. And be sure to like and share my videos. I'd really appreciate that. So until next episode, thanks for watching.